welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to get into the review and a tutorial using this new palette from Charlotte Tilbury. So this is called the Super Nudes Easy Eye Palette. You guys know that whenever Charlotte Tilbury launches a new palette, I'm always all over it. I'm always going to come on here and apply it for you guys, give you the 411, give you some comparisons. You guys know that I do love Charlotte Tilbury, so what can I say? This palette retails for $57 on her website, and this is a different palette. So when you look at it online, it just looks like a nude matte palette, but to my surprise, this is far from being a matte palette. Let me get into the description of it. See, I didn't really read the description when I bought it. I just kind of bought it. This formula is described as these light as air velvet matte eyeshadows are finely milled and blended with oils and waxes for a super emollient, buildable, and forgiving texture that delivers long-lasting pigment without creasing or patchiness. So this formula is different, meaning that you guys know I have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury in my collection. I have a lot of her palettes, and I even have like the solid matte palette, the Desert Haze that she recently launched during the summertime. This is like no other formula I've ever had in a Charlotte Tilbury palette, meaning that it definitely has a very emollient base to it, kind of similar to the cream to powder formula from Charlotte Tilbury. So this is the Metropolis palette, and if you guys have been with me for a while, you will know that this palette was not my favorite. I've used the heck out of it, as you can tell. But this palette wasn't my favorite only because it's filled with this like cream to powder formula where it's kind of creamy, and it's really hard for me to create a look with that formula. Now, I love her cream to matte formula, but the cream to powder is a little bit hard for me to use. When I got this, I noticed right away when I first put my brush down in here, I was like, wait a minute, because it kind of, like, you can actually see. You can see as I've been swatching it, and you can kind of see where I've put in the brush. It's definitely got a richly pigmented emollient base to these mattes. So this is a new formula experience for me personally. I don't know if this is a new formula. I don't really have a formula like this in my collection from Charlotte Tilbury. So I can't say that this is a brand new formula, but it's definitely new to me and what I'm used to when it comes to Charlotte Tilbury. So with all of that said, that's the information on the palette. Let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial and play around with these. I created an all matte eye just to really play with the matte. So let's go ahead and jump into the eye tutorial, and then we will get into some swatches and some comparisons. Once we get through the swatches, we will jump right into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so let's start playing with this new palette from Charlotte Tilbury. This would be a palette that I will probably reach for when I am using this, which is her new formula. This is called her Walk of No Shame. These are called the, I can't remember, Shadow Pots or something. Anyway, I would use it with this or her Eyes to Mesmerize, which is her cream shadows. Those are some of my favorite. So this is the card that came in it. So right here it says Day Eye and then Date Eye, meaning like these three shades would be used for the day. These three shades could be used for the night, but obviously you don't have to do that. This shade, the Prime shade, this is the Enhanced shade. This is the Smoke and Define shade. And then again, Prime, Enhance, and Smoke and Define. And I'm going to use my BK Beauty 207. This is such a great brush for like detailed work. Oh, so good. So I'm going to grab this shade right here. Let's start with this right here on the crease. And I'm going to use this shade to kind of map out the eye and kind of create the contours of the eye. I'm just going to take a clean brush and kind of wing that shadow out a little bit and kind of pull it into the crease. Now I'm going to grab the shade right next to it And I'm going to use that shade to kind of go over top, but keeping it closer to the inside of the contour. Now I'm just going to take a clean blending brush and just kind of blend those edges. They're blending so well. All right, I'm going to grab this first shade in the palette with my blending brush. I'm going to place this like right here in the crease. All right, now I'm going to go into that second shade and go right over top, but keeping it right there on the bridge of that bone. I want to use this shade right here on the lid. So I'm going to take a smaller brush. This is from the new Mario collection, the Makeup by Mario. This is the E5 brush. These are exceptionally creamy mattes. They have kind of like a satin finish to them. These are some soft, creamy shadows. Holy smokes. Okay, I'm gonna go into the second shade. Okay, then I'm gonna go back into the matte, the light matte, and kind of just kind of like mixing those shades together. Okay, I'm gonna go into the second shade and I'm just gonna deepen up this crease. I'm gonna put that shade on the lower lash line. I'm gonna grab a smaller brush. This is the BK Beauty 204. And I'm gonna grab this shade right here and focus that right here on the outer corner. Now I want to use a little bit of that black. I might get some fallout, we'll see. So I'm gonna take the BK Beauty 204. It's kind of like a smudge brush, and I'm gonna grab this black and place it right here on this outer corner. Just kind of outlining this outer corner just to really get that depth out here. It's like such a smooth black. And because I tapped off and stuff, I really didn't get any fallout. I'm gonna grab this shade right here and use that to kind of blend out some of the black, just to soften it up a little bit. Now I'm going to grab that smudge brush I was using, and I'm going to grab this third shade in the palette. These are like satin shadows, you guys. They are so creamy. So I'm going to place this here on this outer corner. Then I'm going to take my flat tipped brush. I'm going to go into the black. I'm going to place this right close to the lash line. And then I'm going to take this and stick it right up here close to the lash line. And then I'm going to take that smudge brush and just buff that line out. Okay, so this is the final look, and if you guys have been following me, you know that I ripped out my lashes right here with an eyelash curler. These are my lashes. This little chunk right here is little individuals because I have a gap there, so I gotta fill it in. And I didn't feel like wearing false lashes, and these lashes are doing so good, and I just had to rip them out. I'm so bugged, but they'll grow back. It is what it is. So I went ahead and just used these Patrick Ta. These are the House of Lashes collaboration with Patrick Ta, and it said this is in the style She Doesn't Need Much. I just ordered like 3 more of these packs. As far as the lip goes, I threw on this from KKW Beauty. It's the nude lip liner number 2. I grabbed this from Patrick Ta. This is in the shade Oh She's Single. It's such a beautiful, beautiful nude. Like, so pretty. Then I had to take it a step further and add my favorite beautiful kind of rosy gold brown tone shimmer lip from Wayne Goss. This is in the shade Hibiscus, and it's one of my favorites. So that's it for the tutorial portion of the video. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches, and then I will get into my final thoughts. Now that we've made it through the tutorial and the swatches and comparisons, let me go ahead and jump into my final thoughts. Before I get into the similarities of this palette to other palettes, let's strictly talk about the formula first. This is like no other formula I have in my collection from Charlotte Tilbury. That doesn't mean that this is a new formula. I just don't have anything like it. It's a very creamy powder formula. I've always struggled just getting it to blend and stay pigmented. So I kind of had that experience with this palette. The reason why I say that is because this shade right here that I did put in my crease, I felt like I had to keep building it and building it to finally get this level of intensity. So it seems like when I put this on and then I would go in with the darker shades, it was almost like I had to go back into this shade to bring it back to life. Like sometimes I don't have to do that with just like a regular powdery matte formula. But with this one being so creamy and emollient based, I felt like as I was layering them, the lighter shades would blend away. So keep that in mind. I think if you like a cream to powder formula, you might really like this because number one, it is pretty pigmented. And the black was a dream to blend out. I mean, the black was literally a dream. So easy to apply. And I'm somebody that doesn't really love to use blacks only because they always turn kind of dirty on me and they don't maintain that shine. But because this is like that cream to powder formula, as I was putting on the eye, it just maintained that shine. And to be honest, I've been wearing this eyeshadow look since around noontime. And right now, you guys, it is almost 8 o'clock at my house. So it is 7:30 at night. And I feel like I still have such a beautiful shine on the crease. And I really like that about the formula, that you do get that shine that sometimes you don't get with like a traditional matte formula. So with that said, I love the black. I think the black is really beautiful. And I do think that the shades blended beautifully. I just think that this is a type of formula you're going to have to really layer and keep packing it in order to maintain the level of intensity that I was personally trying to achieve. This is a brand new palette, so there's not been a lot of reviews on her website of this palette yet, but I did find one. And someone wrote that they love that this comes with staple basic colors to create an eye look. It is just too light and sheer for this person. She found that she really had to build the colors just for any payoff. The eyeshadows were quite stiff as well as kicked up a lot when an eyeshadow brush was dipped into it. Now, I don't have a lot of problem with with the kick up. I think you get a little bit of kick up, but I wouldn't say it's any different than like a traditional matte formula. But this is definitely a very, very creamy, buttery type of formula. One thing that I will say that I am like about this formula is, like I said, my eyeshadow look, it doesn't look dusty. It, you know, even though this is a matte eye, it has that shine to it because these mattes have that emollient base. So they don't look kind of dirty and dusty in the crease, which I appreciate that, especially when you're just wearing a solid matte eye. So I love the eyeshadow look that I created. I do. However, if you have the Desert Haze palette, you could definitely recreate this eyeshadow look using this palette. And you could probably reach for a black that you already have, or use a black eyeliner and kind of buff it into the outer corner and blend it out with a brush. So if you have the Desert Haze palette, I would definitely pass on this one because they're so similar. The only difference between these palettes is this one you get a black and this one is a very velvety type of creamy formula, and this is just her traditional matte formula, which blends beautifully and also does maintain a shine. That's one reason why I love Charlotte Tilbury's mattes, is that they're not dusty and they're not dirty in the crease, and they look so richly pigmented and they have that buttery look to them. This palette has even more of that buttery look and feel to it. So I think it's all going to depend on, you know, if you like a cream to powder formula, then I think you'll enjoy it. If you don't, I would probably skip this palette. Also, if you have the Wayne Gauze palette, I definitely don't think you need this one from Charlotte Tilbury because these are very similar color stories. And even though these two shadows right here are more of a satin type of matte, they have just a slight shimmer to them, but you could create this look using this palette. So those are my thoughts on it. Sound off down below. Let us know, have you guys picked up this palette? How are you guys feeling about it? I'm always interested in hearing your guys' opinions, whether it differs from mine. I could care less. I just love hearing your guys' opinion because it's always so helpful for everyone in the comments section. And we all have a different technique. We all play with makeup very differently. And I think all perspectives is very, very helpful information. So sound off down below. Let us know how you guys are feeling about it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.